So we started with think, now we're going to talk about earning. So first we want to think like a millionaire real estate agent, now we're going to earn it. So this is really the beginning of building a business, the science behind how to build and construct a business at that level. And again, we're all going to go to different levels. You don't have to be an MREA, but all of the same models and the rationale and the steps involved are the same, whether you're building a solo business or a team-based business. Two numbers MREAs all know is their goals and their actuals. Do you know your numbers? There's 8 goal categories in the MREA. We talked about this. Leads generated, obviously everything starts with the leads. Then we want to focus on listings, contracts written, contracts closed. It's a business, so we have to talk about money and how we manage money, and we're going to get into that today with the budget model. People, this is the beginning of leverage. So people, systems, and tools. People is going to be the first big lever that we can pull on, but there's other systems and tools out there as well. Number 8, personal development. So the MREA knows the difference between expenses and investments. So personal development and education is an investment in your future. If you're not reinvesting in yourself, you may want to reconsider that. It's also not something that you would automatically cut back. You know, during shifted markets, your income goes down. If your income goes down, then you need to adjust your expenses, but you actually might increase your education and learning in order to get through those markets. And really, that's information and knowledge you're going to carry forward with you for the rest of your life. So that's why it's referred to as an investment. So earning, we started looking at the science of success, staying faithful to the models, and then innovating. In the book, we have all the models outlined. There's guardrails, guidelines around each of these, and it's actually quite easy to follow. The information is right there. You just have to be aware of it. The 4 fundamental models, we talked about the economic model. Everybody has an economic model, whether they realize it or not. The point is to know your model and to know your numbers. Feeding into the economic model is the lead generation model. The two go hand in hand. And then now today, between lead generation and actually generating the gross income and then actually what you get to take home and keep, that's where the budget model comes in. And then the organization model will actually help you to leverage that and grow even bigger. So there's a couple graphs here on page 122 and on 123. This is essentially depicting how the 4 models work together. It is a cycle. Knowing your numbers and where you start with the economic model is just the beginning, but we do come full circle, and you're going to constantly be checking each of these. There's checks and balances between each of them, and again, according to the models, you're going to be following along with these. Today we'll be touching on the budget model and the organizational model. Lesson from Warren Buffett, the right models matter. There's stories in MREA about Warren Buffett, how he built his financial investment empire around models. And they were not all his ideas. Other people had come before him. He learned about them in school. He adopted them, became a master of those models, and implemented them. I'm not sure if he actually came up with any new models except to follow the models that were already out there at a high level. So the recommendation is read MREA 12 times. You're always going to get something different out of it, when you look at it over time. As you evolve as a person, as your business changes, you're going to tap into different parts of the book, and different things are going to resonate with you at different points in time. So keep coming back to it. Economic model, the key areas: focus on the numbers you need to hit, focus on appointments, and focus on the conversion rates. We did the math. Business planning clinic, there's an Excel spreadsheet that does all the math for you. You can set an appointment with myself or Anne-Marie or Nick, and we could also go through this. Basically, we start with the end in mind, working backwards through all these. Now, knowing your numbers comes back to some of these conversion rates, certainly knowing your commission rate, sale price, but also conversion rates, listing conversions and buyer conversions, both sides here really. I'll just fast forward to this. Again, working backwards, a couple examples here in the numbers. There are some examples in the book as well. The MREA model is depicted in the book. Don't get too carried away with the bigger numbers. They're just there for examples, but focus on your numbers. Figure out where you are today and start with that, and then look to see where you want to go for 2022. Stop me anytime if you have any questions. I'm burning through it to catch up to where we are today. The conversion rates here, I'll just touch on this. In the original MREA, you see conversion rates there of 80% and 65%. Those numbers have adjusted a little bit. I believe right now on the seller side it's 75 and 70%, and the buyer side is 70% and 70%. At least that's what I saw last year in Business Planning Clinic. Again, we can do the exercise together. You can set a 30-minute appointment with me, and we can quickly go through this for your business. It doesn't take a whole lot. Lead generation, again, works synergistically with the economic model. You need lead generation to generate mind share. We talked about that. Most people will only talk to one agent before making a decision to hire an agent, and 90% of the people are going to talk to maybe two at the most. So your goal is to either stay number one in the mindset of your sphere, clients, people, and if you can't be at number one, you've got to be at least number two. If you're not number two, then you're out of the game. So how do we do that? Obviously, prospecting and marketing, page 136, there's some graphs there. We talked about the fact that there's certain things missing, like social media. That's new in 18 years or 17, 18 years ago since the book was published. 2003, obviously that's new, so there's some new information there. But the same message is true from way back then. You have to build a database. You have to have a database and systematically market to it. And really, again, we're marketing based, so we're building that mind share through our marketing, through our continuous contact, but then we're prospecting that as well. And really, with prospecting and marketing, the idea is to move people to your inner circle. So we talked about the lead gen model, really starting with, let's say you got nobody in your database. You're going to start with the general public, people you haven't met. So you're applying these things, 12 direct, which is one piece every 12 months, 8x8 to build a deeper relationship, 33 touch to maintain that relationship, moving people in target groups, could be your farm territories, the Met groups are the people that you've met, and allied resources are your referrals. These are the people that are referring you to regular business. If you look at your database, you could probably apply 80-20 to your database, and you'll realize that 80% of your leads come from about 20% of your database. So that's your allied resources. Those are the people in your inner circle. 8x8 is to build a close personal relationship. You can take a look on page 146. It's outlined there. You'll notice it's a lot of human interaction. It's not just electronic. So incorporate that to build deep relationships with people that you just met. The 33 touch, now it's referred to as a 36 touch. Basically, it's an annual program to maintain contact with those people. It's a combination of different touches now, social media, in addition to regular mailings, handwritten notes, all those different types of things, different types of collateral, as well as the human interaction. We still have to make the phone calls, we still have to touch people, and all the anniversaries and holidays that we normally have. 12 direct. 12 direct is just 12 direct pieces. Again, it's for the haven't met portion of your database. It's not going to include personal telephone calls or drop-bys because you don't know these people yet. Once you can move them further into the circle, then through the 36 touch and the 8x8, you'll be making those types of contacts. Interesting here, number 5, just a database conversion type. So when MREA was published, they were aiming at the industry average, or at least the research showed it was around a 2% return on the database. So 50 people in your database, you could expect to get at least 1 sale a year. So 100 people, that's 2 a year, and you could do the math. You can multiply that out. Now through technology, we've become more efficient, and some of those conversion rates with the database are actually higher. Some people are realizing up to 5 and 6% per, 6 sales per 100 people, let's say. And some are even pushing higher. At the highest level, people are running up around 10%. So for every 100 people in their database, they're generating 10 deals a year. So very reasonable to get, to get those numbers up by following these methods. Again, the lead gen ratios we just touched on. You can look at that on page 187. And again, just talking here about, analyzing your database. How many people are in your met database? How many people are in your haven't met? And then, what can you do to bring them in closer? For each one of these groups of people, you're going to have a written plan. So those haven't mets, you have to write out a plan. How can you get in touch with them? How you can contact them? Same with the farm territories or anything specific. Have a written specific plan on what you're going to do the things that you're going to do to incorporate into that 36 touch, the 8x8's there, but the 36 touch and maybe the 12 direct, you can get a little creative there. But again, think about how you're actually going to connect with those people and put a plan in place to do it. 4 laws of lead gen. This is a question. Every monthly meeting we have a question, and I'll give you a hint on what the question is going to be for next week. But this was a question 2 months ago. 4 laws of lead gen: build a database, feed it every day, communicate it, and service all the leads that come your way. So, any questions or anything up to this point? We kind of fast forwarded here up to what we're going to talk about today with the budget model. So starting in the budget model, if you're following along in the book, we're up on page 152. The key to your budget model is really understanding what happens between the gross commission that comes in and what you get to keep and take home. I don't know how people feel about the budgets. You know, sometimes people don't like to look at budgets. It seems to be one of the things that gets neglected the most. But it can actually be really exciting and interesting when you take a look at your budget and what's happening with your money. And we're going to show you, there's some charts in here today that's explaining exactly where your budget should be on certain numbers, the percentages around those different items. And Peter's on the call. I know I enjoy working with Peter on the Market Center budget, where we do this. We look at it weekly and monthly, reporting out to the shared stakeholders. But it is pretty exciting, and I know we've made a lot of nice gains in our Market Center's budget, and we'd love to help you do the same in your business. So 3 key areas to budget model is to lead with revenue, not expenses. So the idea there is that you're only spending money on your business based upon what you've made. Now, the barriers to entry are pretty low to get your first listing or buyer or sale. The investment's relatively low, but the idea is then to take that money and roll it into your next investment. So are you investing in the lead generation? Are you investing in training or education? What are you going to use that revenue for that's gonna parlay into the next opportunity, the next transaction? The best businesses are founded based upon low startup costs and quickly getting into a revenue stream. Businesses that start out spending lots of money, pouring tons of money maybe into marketing or advertising without having the sales to back it up, those businesses are not going to survive. So just get your first transactions, do the minimum to get those, and take that money and start to roll it into what's next. So that's what the idea of lead with revenue is really about. Red light, green light is now about holding that money accountable. So now you've taken that money and you're investing it into something. Let's say it's a lead generation, maybe it's Facebook ads or something else. As you spend the money on that, you have to track its return on the investment. So if I spent $100 a month on Facebook ads, how many transactions did I close with that? Maybe it's 1. That's fine. But at least now you can do the math and you're playing red light, green light with your money. So as you're spending the money, you're also holding it accountable. That's why we tend to look at our budgets on a weekly basis to really kind of keep them up to date and keep track. You definitely want to look at it at least on a monthly basis. But that weekly basis would give you even more visibility around the decisions that you're making in real time. Sticking to the budget, on pages 157, so the section starts on 152. On 157, you get a little bit more information around the expenses and the percentages there. So take a look at that. At the top of 157, on page 157, figure 18, we have the cost of sales. Now, I could pull this up real quick. Not all of these charts and graphs from MREA are in the slide deck, but we do have them available. Yes. Okay, so here at the top, we tend to refer to this as like a 30-30-40 model. So 30%, rough breakdown of your GCI, 30% goes to cost of sales. Another 30% goes to expenses, and the remaining 40% is your net income. So when you're looking at this, across the top is GCI. Now, just to keep in perspective, GCI for capping is around 70,000, roughly 3 million. So that's a little bit off the charts to the left, but you get the idea as far as the numbers go. Now, working across there, you'll see the percentages do kind of ebb and flow a little bit. You'll see expenses are fluctuating there a little bit from 33, 31, 30. Net income 55, 62. So in general, the 30-30-40 model tends to follow across all the different sizes of business. So whether you're a solo agent capping, a $6 million producer, a $10 million producer, an $18, $25 million team, or some combination, the models tend to stay true throughout those ranges. Now, they will go up and down at different times. The second graph in the book on page 18, figure 19 on page 157, is the expense detail. So taking the expense, again, across the top of the GCI, so the expense is just this portion here. Let's say for the 6 million, it's the 59,300. This is how those expenses are broken down. Now, the two biggest parts, roughly 20% of your expenses is going to be salaries and lead generation. But then beyond that, those items continue to break down. And again, this is the model, right? So these are target numbers you can aim for your occupancy, your technology, phone calls, supplies, education, equipment. There is more details in Business Planning Clinic. The percentages might fluctuate a little bit, but they're still holding relatively true since the book was published 17, 18 years ago. So take a look at those on those pages. Yeah, the big two, again, of course, salaries and lead generation. This is where you're going to get the most in terms of leverage. Chart of accounts. Chart of accounts, in the back of MREA, there's a chart of accounts, but you will also get it through the Business Planning Clinic. There's an Excel spreadsheet that you'll receive that they'll share with you at Business Planning Clinic with Gene Rivers. The first tab's the economic model, which we covered earlier, so you can actually work through your numbers here. It's all done in Excel. The math is nice. In red, shown in red, are some of the current conversion rates. So again, if you look back at MREA, the 30-30-40 model still holds up. That's still true, right? That's how we can work backwards from our net income to calculate our expenses and cost of sales and what we need to do there. If you look at the conversion rates I mentioned, some of these are changed now. So back in MREA, 80, 60%, 80%. Now they're more in the 70, 75% ranges on some of these conversion rates. But they may not be your conversion rates. You should go back and study your numbers to see what your conversion rates are actually. Just to get started, you can plug in the MREA numbers, maybe to set goals and do some business planning for next year. But go back and look at your numbers, because you need to know that there's a gap there somewhere, and it would be worthwhile to take a look at that and see what you could do. Maybe it's a skills-based thing. Maybe it's a lead generation. When you look at your economic model, if you're heavier on the buyer side, maybe you want to do more next year to take more listings. Maybe you want to get back to a more balanced type of model. Maybe you've been doing great on listings, and now you have an excess of buyers that you need to start referring out. This helps you to work through those thought processes. The Excel spreadsheet has the budget model listed in here, so it has a breakdown of all those different things. You can use this as a tool for your business. All the pages are connected. You can go ahead and plug those in. These are on a monthly basis, these numbers here, but they'll roll up into annual. The chart of accounts, so there's a full chart of accounts in here for the business. We actually use this up and down the line at Keller Williams. The Market Center's chart of accounts is the same. We actually use the same chart of accounts to track all of our expenses as an office as you would in your normal business. And then pulling everything through to the end, a profit and loss statement, which is, maybe the beginning of the end, but it's really also the beginning. So really understanding your P&L and knowing where things stand on a weekly, monthly basis is ultra important to be able to run a successful and profitable business. Again, if you want to go deeper in some of these numbers, Petra's a great resource. myself, Nick, feel free to stop any of us if you want to go deeper into some of this. So yes, again, the chart of accounts, the whole idea is to bring clarity around the business expenses so that you can hold them accountable, right? Red light, green light, you're tracking the numbers, you're looking at the rate of return. The goal is to keep it simple and clear so that it can actually be followed and used by anyone, whether it's a new agent, a mega team, or a market center. And there's exercises, again, you can do, page 157, touched on that. Organizational model. So organizational model, just to be clear, we're only really covering up to pages around 170, 172 for the purposes of today's discussion. But there are additional pages that go into it a little bit further up to pages 219. So organizational model, starting out when doing all you can, hire administrative help. Now, starting on 159, it kind of talks about the beginning of that process. There's a great figure 20 at the bottom of page 160 talks about the type of help that you hire. And most of this is really around hiring talent, right? Hiring talented people. We have a process called career visioning. It provides us the tools to actually help identify people and their strengths, their talents, and actually compares them and aligns them with different roles and positions within the company. There's over 30 positions, including 17 or 18 different positions within the sales team itself, in addition to the market center, regional, and even corporate. So it's something, again, that we use company-wide to identify and hire talent. You can go on and read through a little bit more, pages 161, the differences between hiring talent versus non-talent, and also the cost of a bad hire, page 163. The cost of having a bad hire versus hiring a great hire. And again, it all goes back to talent and the way talent performs. So we have the tools and resources to help with that. Something else with organizational, you may not be ready to hire your first assistant, but you can outsource and leverage certain things. There's marketing vendors available. We have shared services available in the office for marketing, listing management, transactions to close. These are all small incremental ways you can start to invest in an organizational model to get help in your business, until you're ready to maybe make that first full-time hire. And talking about full-time hire, once you hire that person, now you have to train and consult them. That's discussed and begins on 164. And that's a different approach. It's not just about telling people what to do and top-down management. It's more of a relational type of style for management. You're explaining to people your standards, the way you like things done, how you want them to do it. You're crafting the systems that they're going to follow, and then you're following up to make sure that they're doing it right, and you're coaching them around the position and the things that they could do better or things they could do differently. Take figure 25 on page 166. There's a great principles of empowering people, and on 167, the consultative interview. So this is something that we do as an office, as a market center. We're not, it's really no different for us. We're here leading a team in the office. We all have different roles to play, and having all different strengths and weaknesses and backgrounds, so we come together to make it all happen. But it's not without a lot of training and consulting and constant communication as well. Just flash forwarding a little bit, so we're kind of jumping in the book as far as the slides go. We sort of jump over the pages from 172 up to this 197. Those pages in between really talk about the millionaire real estate agent models and just slight variations for them when you're at the $1 million level. Just some additional insights for MREAs in those pages, but we don't really need to go through all of that here now. But 187, just to kind of give you an idea of where it could all lead to, is the organizational model of the MREA. It really starts with hiring a great administrative assistant. And there's an interesting discussion on, I think I mentioned it earlier, it was on the bottom of page 160, the pros and cons of hiring a licensed assistant versus an unlicensed assistant. Take a look at that yourself. I have my own personal opinions. I might keep them to myself for today. but they are different. The administrative side is different than the sales side. Your administrative manager is going to be more of the hub running your business day to day. They're going to be interfacing with the different groups. So as you grow, you have buyer sides, you have listing sides. There's specialists there. The three key hires to your organizational model will be that lead listing specialist, the admin, and on the far right, the buyer specialist. So those would be ultimately the three key hires of the MREA. That's what would actually enable you to step up into the CEO role. Usually that listing specialist is the last hire because that's probably your job. That's typically the highest and best use of an agent's time. That's their maximum earning potential. That's their highest earning hour per hour, if being on those listing appointments. So usually when you're working yourself out of that position last to step up into the CEO role. And eventually if you make a great hire on the admin side, that admin could actually step into the CEO role one day and take over running the business for you so you can retire on the island that you were planning to purchase. Right?
Love it.
Well,
Big why.
Ask Chris Suarez. That's what he did. Exercise 192. This is I got to share this with you. This is just interesting. So there is a student manual. There's a student manual that goes along with the course, and there's a really interesting exercise in here. It's the 192 things that a real estate agent has to do. I don't know if you ever added it up. Yeah, here it is. Okay, just for fun because you didn't have enough to do already. So this is a task list. This is, you can work through this yourself, but this is all the things that you're doing: goal setting, planning, leadership, marketing, advertising. Seller prospecting and servicing. Buyer prospecting and servicing. And all the functional tasks that go along with it: transaction and closing, administration and accounting. Pretty extensive, right? Has anybody ever thought about this before? Could be overwhelming, right? There's a key to this at the bottom. It's a key point of fiduciary delivery or a key fiduciary function. Those are the things that you really want to focus on. There's other functional things you can outsource and get leverage for and get help for in the business. But you're going to stay on those fiduciary responsibilities as you grow. That's the highest and best service that we can provide people as real estate professionals. Anyway, don't get too overwhelmed with that, but I did have to address it because it was in the slides. So anyway, so now you know. You got 192 things to do this week. Profit sharing plan. So again, we kind of skipped over several pages here. We're jumping up to page 209. Just to touch on this, there is different compensation models and methods. One of them here is profit sharing. Now, we have profit share as a company. We profit share in the market center. We profit share throughout the U.S. and Canada. Internationally, it's called growth share. So it comes in through the revenue that we receive through our regions around the world, and you can receive growth share as well. It's paid out quarterly versus monthly, and there's some exchange rates and tax issues in there, but KW takes care of all that. The money still goes to you, so you can actually help grow the company globally as well as domestically, local here in the U.S. But profit share, so profit share is mentioned on 209, kind of just gives you an idea of what you might do at one point, at some point in time in the future for your team and for your business. There's some pros and cons in there, but it's basically a financial incentive program, and it's one of the few compensation programs that actually extends beyond the term of the employment. Right? Our profit share system is the same thing. As long as you just pay $25 a year, you stay in the profit share system. You can retire from real estate and continue to receive those paychecks monthly. Just stay in the system. That's all you have to do. But it's a great way to generate passive income. The key takeaway is it's income that continues after you stop lead generating. If you do your own lead generation, which should be everybody, if there was a way for you to make money after you stop lead generating, sign me up. To me, that's the biggest takeaway of the profit sharing program. And so take a look on page 209. There's some ideas there. If you're interested in building a team and building something like that, we can certainly sit down and discuss it. But there's nine different compensation opportunities out there, and even on Connect. Just to touch base on that real quick, there are additional resources on KW Connect for leverage. Let's see if I can get there real quick. Including compensation models. So there's an outline of compensation for different types of people, showing specialists, buyer's agents, listing specialists. Whoops. So under resources, if you come down to leverage, you can get more information here. For solo agents, there's a first hire calculator. So this would actually help you do the math around hiring an administrative assistant. It will actually show you how much more business and income you can actually generate by hiring that assistant. There is career visioning documents. So if you're working to hire an assistant or even start to grow a team, there's a lot of resources available for that. There's org charts available. There's classes that you can take. Kind of personality assessment is part of the career visioning process. We also have job profiles. So all of the agent team job profiles are here. So whatever position or role in the team is that you're looking for, if you're trying to get clarity around how you could start to break your job up and outsource some of it, or maybe get help, you can take a look at this. There's job descriptions already here for all the positions. And there's onboarding documents. So even when you hire those people, the first 30, 60, 90, there's resources for that. And I think there's compensation models are here. So you can actually download this. It's a graph showing you the different roles and what compensation could look like for some of those roles. So again, everything from ISAs, outbound sales, specialists, agents, and even admin support, management, staff support, and even leadership positions within the team. All different. Compensation varies depending on the role. Again, these are the models that research has shown as identified as being best practices or proven practices, I should say, because they can always be bettered, they can always be improved. But take a look at that if you're really interested in growing a team or looking to do more there. It's quite interesting. Salary, some of these positions are salaries, some of them are hourly, some of them include bonuses, a lot of just different information there. But again, a lot of resources on Connect. Take a look at that. And if you want any questions about anything we covered today, any links to information, I sent out in the email ahead of time the links for Business Planning Clinic. There's also supposed to be a special fall business planning masterminds coming up. But I think that's it for the slides today. Was there any questions or anything that you'd like me to go back through or touch on?
No, it's good.
It's in that PDF with 190 something, whatever.
192 tasks?
Yes.
Sure. There's yeah, definitely.
Now, don't go through there and check them off and make sure, like, don't get all intimidated, lovers.
I just like that. It's like,
Yeah. Nicole, I'll put that in the chat box right now. It's available through the course materials. You can actually download the student manual. Nicole, did you have a question?
No, I do not. I just want to say thank you, and I'm afraid that I have to leave now. I have a showing appointment to go.
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much. Bye,
Yes.
everyone. Yeah.
Wonderful. Let's see, here. This is just wrestling with me a little bit. Let me stop the share real quick. Why is it not letting me copy? Okay, Lovis, I'll get you this information. I'll send it out in an email. Okay, that's not cooperating with me right now. But if you search 24 topics on Connect,
Yeah, I got it, yeah.
you'll find the course, and then go to materials, the second tab over materials,
Mhm.
and you can you'll see student and instructor, and then in the student guide is in there. And that's where I got that's where the list came from. The other exercises are in there too that we discussed. The big why questions, some of those other exercises are in there as well. So take a look at that. So thanks everybody for being here. Does anybody online have any questions? Anybody else in the room? All right, awesome. So next week, we're going to continue on. We'll be here again next Thursday. We're going to be looking at netting $1 million. So once you've earned $1 million, now you're going to get to net $1 million. And we'll start with the models that are needed for that. So thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Petra.
See you in a minute for next one.
See you in a few minutes.